Hello everyone and welcome back to another exciting episode of Boyographic, the show in which I, Matt the Game Boy, take you through the highs and lows of the Game Boy library, one cart at a time. This week we're going to be looking at a Japanese exclusive that's actually pretty damn good. It's Popeye. So, if you're anything like me, you'll have seen or even played Popeye 2 on the Game Boy and wonder to yourself, why the hell is this Popeye 2? Is it claiming to be a sequel to the 1982 Nintendo Arcade and NES title? A Goonie 2-esque sequel to the 1980s Popeye movie? Or something else entirely? Well, it's pretty straightforward actually. In 1990, Japan saw an exclusive release of Popeye for the Game Boy, developed and published by Sigma Enterprises under license from King Features Syndicate. Unlike the sequel, Popeye is not a platformer. Instead, our spinach-scoffing sailor finds himself in a maze game similar to Pac-Man, and one that for the Game Boy's limitations really isn't too bad. The concept of the game is pretty simple. You guide Popeye through a maze, searching first for olive oil, collecting hearts as you go, before tracking down baby Swee'Pea to finish the level within the time limit. Of course, this wouldn't be a maze game without obstacles, and it clearly wouldn't be Popeye without Sailor Man's arch nemesis, Bluto. Bluto, much like his cartoon and comic strip counterpart, is strong, overbearing, and keen to use underhanded tactics to make sure Popeye doesn't achieve his goals. Not only will simply running into Bluto mean you have to hammer the A button in a fist fight with him, which is not only tedious and time-consuming, it's also very hard to win. Also, in Bluto's attempts to stop Popeye, he throws all sorts of things into the mix. Boxing glove kangaroos, cannons, and even occasionally alligators. Why, might you ask? Who knows? But it looks like the game's designers had fun, at least. Other than the threat of Bluto and his strange assortment of violent distractions, Wimpy is walking around the maze laying down hamburgers that can't be crossed by Popeye, which is tedious on some of the earlier stages, but towards the end of the game, they are intentionally used by the designers as a way of keeping you from Olive, and in turn, the game's goal. While Wimpy can eat these burgers and clear a path for you, this doesn't always happen. But there's one thing we know Popeye can rely on in a pinch: it's spinach. Throughout each of the mazes, spinach cans will randomly spawn and fly across the screen at varying speeds. These are all but a must in later levels, as they not only allow you to get past the hamburgers entrapping Olive, but also allow you to move faster and let Bluto know who's boss. After most key events, such as engaging in Bluto in some fisticuffs, finding Olive, or running out of time, the bottom right corner displays a small image, either a victorious pose of Popeye or a gloating grin of Bluto, which, playing to the strengths of the Game Boy's grayscale colour palette, almost echoes the look and feel of E.C. Segar's early panels of the Popeye comic strip on which the game is based. With a total of 3 difficulty levels with 5 mazes apiece, Popeye shouldn't take you very long to blast through. While the later levels do become a little bit tricky due to elements of chance introduced by the much needed spinach cans and Swee'Pea spawn locations, with a little patience, you'll eventually make it through. Trust me, you're gonna need it. As while continues are unlimited, all it takes is one bad spawn and you won't get the necessary spinach to progress to Olive. Due to the randomness of this levels and the degree of chance involved, this is actually a game that offers replayability to those whose spirits are not broken enough from the first playthrough to play this game again and again if their heart so desires. The game looks great for the most part, even though the sprites can sometimes become a tangled mess when close together, but even then the game never really shows any signs of slowdown. The game's score is one of its highlights, meaning that most levels have their annoyances offset by some really nice audio. Seriously, chiptune fans, check it out. Despite being a Japanese exclusive, Popeye is very accessible to a Western gamer, as strangely enough, its menus are all in English. It's a short and sweet maze game that not only gives the genre a fresh lick of paint, but it was perhaps one of the nicest examples of the maze game genre on the system. Popeye is also pretty inexpensive, even on the old eBay, so if you can get hold of this game, then go ahead and order it. While it can be frustrating to play the last few levels, the reward of seeing Popeye and Olive's marriage will surely get you through it. If you get hold of 2 copies, you can even play multiplayer with one person as Popeye and the other as Bluto. Make it a head-on-head maze game action not to be missed. After all, if it's a maze game you're hunting, this one you'll be wanting. It's Popeye the Sailor Man. And that's it for this week's Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that outburst of singing at the end, but I couldn't resist. If you liked the video, then maybe subscribe and check out some of our other videos. There's more in the Boyographic series, in which I look at the highs and lows of the Game Boy library, one cart at a time, looking at the best and worst games for the system your money can buy. You can also look at Boy Curious, which is some bootlegs and oddities for the system, and then you can also look at All the Glory, a series of gameplay videos where I cut out all the deaths, giving you none of the faff, but all of the glory. If you've liked the show, then please tell some friends, and you can also find me on Twitter at GameBoyle. Until next time, Game Boys and Girls, game on.